sweet. Whose stuff is that?
That's the second Mo-Wax compilation.
Wow.
Mo-Wax.
James Lavell's label. I don't know who did
you're talking about that?
Yeah, I don't know who did the work for those. I remember going to FBC and buying the first one. I mean, they were ridiculously expensive. Like, they were like $80 a piece. And then like I had to run and get the second one because they didn't have the second one at FBC. But I mean, it's got everybody on there. It's got like Carl Craig, Portishead, Tortoise, the Beastie Boys even are on there, DJ Shadow, all kinds of folks are on there. This is when Mo-Wax was at the peak of their powers.
Right.
Which was a long time ago. I went Lansing, Chicago, Detroit. So I kind of got started in this whole thing in Lansing when I was in college, moved to Chicago, and at this point I've spent pretty much equidistant time between Chicago and Detroit, which is cool. I mean, in America, like, those are the two cities. That's it. And even in the world, like, Berlin has a lot to offer, London has a lot to offer, but as far as dance music culture goes, I feel like I've lived in the two most important places there are on the planet, which is cool. And I got to work at Gramophone in Chicago, which was...
Oh, did you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was an incredible job, and, you know, seeing, like, all these geezers come in and sell their record collections because they'd given up on DJing, and it was like, oh, I'll take that, I'll take that.
Is that where you got the Chris and Cosi record at?
Indeed it was. Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, because you were there when, like, Wax Trax, you know, was that, like...
Well, Wax Trax had closed, so we ended up getting a lot of their back stock, and, like I said, you know, guys who had been house DJs in the 80s or whatever, who were, you know, people grow up and they give up. Oh, I'm going to sell all my records, and I'd come to work on any given day, and there'd be a couple crates of records in the back.
Yeah.
The two most notable meetings were with Jeff Mills and Richie Hawden. Jeff, you know, I just looked up from the counter and happened to see him, like, thumbing through the crates and whatever, and I'd always made a promise to myself, like, if I ever meet anybody that I consider a hero or somebody I look up to, all I'm going to say is thank you. So I walked up and was like, Jeff, thank you. For what? He was really confused, like, what are you thanking me for? Thank you for doing what you do. And Rich was in there.
We're off to see.
Yeah, exactly. And Rich was in there on another occasion, and I had actually just, like, gotten off of work and had just, like, hoarded a bunch of records from a crate that we kept in the back and was sifting through them in the listening booth, and I played an 808 State record, and Rich came up and was like, what is that? I used to open all my sets with that track, and was just, like, going into this whole thing. It was really strange because he was trying to, like, let me know who he was without letting on that he was letting me know who he was. And he asked to buy the record from me, and he had already said that he had multiple copies of it, but he couldn't find it because his collection was so big. So I got to say no. I'm like, no.
Richie played me, like, his new record that hasn't come out yet.
Where did you see him?
It's like this.
You know? It's Timo.
Right.
Echo.
It's a smash. It's a smash.
It's so minimal.
Yeah.
That you have to imagine what it sounds like.
It's up to you.
Right,
It's up to the listener.
It's really abstract.
It's interactive.
Right. Right. It's the world's first interactive track. My brother was always into Motown. Like, I mean, he's 2 years older than me, but this kid was, like, forever into Motown. I've never known my brother without knowing him to like like Motown. You know, the Supremes, Four Tops, like that whole, the Temptations, all of that. So I heard a lot of that growing up. Mom had, you know, she had what she was listening to, which was some Motown stuff, but a lot of the, like, the 70s soul that was coming out. You know, some Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, you know, some Al Green, you know, some Grover Washington Jr., you know, like, just a random bunch of stuff. Dad had the funk thing on lockdown. He didn't really...
It's a perfect combo.
Right, you didn't hear a lot, like, it wasn't like my dad had a ton of records, but he had the P-Funk records.
Okay.
You know, he also had the Richard Pryor Live records. You know, and my dad was very into the blues, though, too.
Okay.
But I remember, like, listening on the, like, you know, so as a kid, you know, your primary outlet for your music is not just what they're playing, but, like, you know, what might be on the radio, too. You know, especially in the car, you know, people played 8 tracks of radio. And so, you know, Detroit radio was just different back then. But I remember being a little boy out flying my kite. I had gotten a kite with the eagle on it. And I remember, like, we had a big playground right next to our house. And I remember running around the playground flying my kite, singing "Fly Like an Eagle."
Oh,
you know, you know what I'm saying. So it was just, you know, you heard that was part of a wide variety of music.
Here we have documentation of Steve Miller.
Right. The new wave thing kind of hit. You know, I was still a little boy, but I remember hearing, and actually one of the first 45s that I was given. I was given this as a present to some from one of my cousins, Lisa Love, who's not really a cousin, but she's like a cousin.
Okay.
She gave me the 45 of Cars by Gary Newman.
Oh, right.
Because I liked it as a little boy, and she was like, "Here, have it," you know. So I mean, you know, I think that when the new wave thing hit, something struck, and I liked. There was something about like that synthesized sound that really struck a nerve with me as a little boy. I was in the disco too, you know, as we all were at that point. Just, you know, listen to it. But like, you know, Kraftwerk stuff came out, Computer World. But see, that's everybody. I mean, I'm talking from a little boy's perspective. But everybody in the hood, you know, everybody in the, you know, got down the, you know, numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I mean, computer games, like all of that was completely. It wasn't like it was. This is like techno electronic stuff. That was just some like.
It's just a jam.
Yeah, it was just a jam, and B-52s too. You know, when Rock Lobster hit. I mean, you know, I remember dancing as a little boy on the porch to that with the other kids on the block. You know what I'm saying? It was this beautiful time musically. When it comes to like electronic music, like I was telling Izzy earlier, you know, my older cousins and stuff really introduced me to it. And really like started playing me tapes and stuff of like, you know, things that were coming out, you know, that they knew. And you know, this was apparently like local stuff, you know, but they would have a DJ make a tape, you know, to have, and they would play it for me, or you know, or be listening to it while I was in the car or something like that. It turns out that what that was early Detroit techno and Chicago house, you know. So from them and from your Mojos and your Wizards playing what they were playing on the radio, I think really became my introduction to like techno.
Yeah.
You know, techno and house. I think my first party really truly was 91.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
I went to your parties for 9 years before I even met you.
Really?
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We drive down from Lansing, like Jesus, I wouldn't do it now. To think of like driving an hour and a half to a party, and like driving back after.
Well, that's, I mean, that's
we've driven 10 hours to do that.
I mean, that was the big thing. I mean, we would like caravan on the weekends and go to like, you know, Midwest. You know, it was always like Columbus. Or,
right.
Indiana, or wherever.
And
Richmond's
W raves.
Yeah. You know, and back then, I mean,
an hour and a half would have been nice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then, you know, and I totally missed that because like, I mean, meeting like the other scenes that were just as strong as ours. You know,
I miss the connectivity. You know, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day that it's funny because at one point, like back then, like as a promoter, knew or had heard of, either knew or had heard of almost every other promoter in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that small, you know what I'm saying, and that kind of tight.